Live streaming is on.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Dan Gay, Chief Marketing Officer at BlockCerts Blockchain, and I'm joined here, as always, every Friday with a live cast with Mr. Tim Vasco, who's the founder of BlockCerts Blockchain. Good morning to you, Tim.
Friday morning live, Dan.
Friday morning live. It's like just things pass by so fast. It's
Web 3.0. Get ready for the metaverse, right?
For sure. And what we're talking about today, it's actually rather fascinating. I was thinking about what you sent to me last night and what we're talking about. And when you look back just 2 years ago, you would never, ever think about the jobs that are available today. And if you look into the future, you can't even comprehend what's going to happen in the next 2 years. We've so accelerated things digitally that it's an incredible universe that we live in, and job opportunities. And if you're not changing, things will change past and beyond you.
Well, so we called it a renaissance last week, and that really is. And it's so exciting to see that, because what opportunity looks like today is just astounding, and the massive shift. And I think one of the things that excites me, being an entrepreneur all my life since I was 9 years old, is that this is the era, this is the generation for that kind of creative thinking, and it's happening globally. It's like it's everywhere, right? And it's all around us. And I think that the thing that we want to point out today is most people don't even recognize it. It's just so ingrained and so natural. Most people don't even stop to think, hey, wait a minute, that's a job.
I know. Well, that's where I remember when texting came out and other things. I'll date myself, but I remember when, bosses and companies were worried about people texting at work, or then there's YouTube and other things that came out, and there's no boundary anymore. It's just so melded into the fabric of what we do with work and life and everything we do. Digital is here, and it's a part of everything that we do, and it's just
exactly
it's changing.
Yeah, let's dig in and talk about it. So,
let's do.
So here we go. So here it is. And I wanted to start with a riddle. When is work not work? When is a job not a job, really? And we get into that question, and reality is, you start out with something like this: Web 2.0 work. What? And get off that social media. Charlie D'Amelio raked in $27.5 million on TikTok from TikTok. So check this out. Check these numbers out. 17.5 million with her sister, and the Addison Rae 8.5 million. Bella Porch and Josh Richard 5 million. Chris Collins and Avani Gregg 4.7 million. I don't watch this stuff, but I'm just going, wow, way to go, entrepreneurs. Like, go for it. This is insane. And, taking that idea of, here I am, this is what I'm going to do, and putting it out there and pulling in 27.5 million. What better definition is there of entrepreneurship right there?
For sure, Tim. And what's really cool about this is that it's authentic. And that's what we're seeing about businesses that are doing very, very well, is that they're very authentic.
Yeah, and don't make any mistake. Like, this is a business, At the end of the day, how many small businesses or entrepreneurs would love to build a business up to $27.5 million in revenue? Seriously.
sure.
I mean, this is definitely work. It's a job, it's business. And it's like, but 10 years ago, you're like, get off that stupid device.
Exactly.
Maybe not. Maybe don't get off that stupid device. And it goes on, Dan. It's I was in Toronto this week, and first flight in 2 years. Right.
Wow.
It was insane. And I actually took this picture of PewDiePie. I was walking down the street in Toronto with my daughter, who I just took to university there. She's so excited to be out of the house. And we're talking, and she goes, Dad, look up there. And I'm like, wow, like insane. 100 million subs, 100 million subscribers on YouTube. So how's that for watching TV for a job?
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
Content.
We've got something to learn.
Yeah. And so, we're sitting here, there's Mr. Beast, 54 million. And there's, you can just go Google this stuff and look at what the numbers are. There's no question. We had Michael Hummel on with Supercar Driven, who's driving his subs through the roof with supercars and stuff. And, talk about somebody of our generation who's figured out, a Web 3.0 business model. And this generation is killing it. That's work.
It is.
Make no mistake. That's Web 2.0 work. That's what we ushered in this world.
Yeah, for sure. And as we've talked with Michael at Supercar Driven, his son was very active and involved in online and digital. And, he bridged the gap between physical and digital and is doing both and has just an incredible business that's created and moving in the right direction. So,
and talk about that. I understand Michael's son, Chris, was a gamer.
Correct.
So get off the games, kids. Come on, forget it. What? What if I played games at work and my boss was totally okay with it? Like, seriously, look at this. Look at the numbers. The numbers speak for themselves. These are all entrepreneurs. They figured it out. They came up with a business model. They use their talents and their skills at something they love. So that's the answer to the riddle. When is work not work? When is a job not a job? That's the riddle of Web 2.0. And anybody who didn't catch this, I mean, reality is we all caught it. We all saw this happening. We've all seen this become part of our day-to-day awareness, right?
Right.
But who is doing anything about it? And by the way, is it too late? That's a good question. Is it too late? Is this game over? Do we keep going from here, or what do you think, Dan? I mean, is it too late?
No, it's never too late. What's interesting to me is I remember I had a lot of cable companies that were clients of mine in the telecom sector, and a lot of people were worried about segmenting into too many channels. And what we find that has happened over time and is still happening is that people will gravitate to the areas of their interest. So there will always be pools of people that will follow, and there will always be people who lead. And that's
Dan,
what we're talking about.
You reminded me of a story. I got to tell a story. So this is my dad, Frank, was a great guy and always loved to tell me these business stories. And he knew a guy in town there, and you'll recognize the name. Dan's in Denver. Right. And his name was Bill Daniels. They were friends, right?
I know his son. Yep.
Yeah, Bill came to my dad when they were just young. And said, hey, Frank, I want you to invest in my company. I've got this great idea. Cable TV.
Right.
And my dad, being the great out-of-the-box thinker, non-conservative guy, exactly the opposite of that. He was a Depression era, hardworking guy.
In the box.
Said, Bill, who the hell is ever going to pay for TV?
Right.
Right. And there are so many stories of that from when I was a kid growing up. Mo Siegel, you know who that is?
For sure.
And epilogue to the Bill Daniels story. My dad knew Mo. He went in the backyard of Mo's backyard, a little shack, and said, this crazy hippie, this kind of stuff I grew up with over the dinner table. This crazy hippie tried to sell me and investing in his business. He's growing some herbs in his shed in his backyard.
Oh my God.
He's called Celestial Seasonings.
Yes.
And Bill Daniels, Daniel Communication. I ended up getting my MBA from the University of Denver, Daniels Communication.
Through the Daniels Center, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So crazy. Yeah, this has been going on forever. And that's what I love about what we're seeing today, what we've seen with Web 2.0. So it's not new. It's being open to those opportunities, right? Being open to those crazy ideas. And you know, the great video we love, Dan, that we always watch is Here's to the Crazy Ones, the Apple ad that Steve Jobs narrates, right?
Right. And it's always true. And we've got a slide coming up here that is from about 20 years ago, and it's still true today. And we'll talk about that too. But
yeah.
Amazing.
So when we get into this, you know, we start wondering, well, who's watching this stuff, and really, what is the world going to be like? And the truth is, there's a lot of really smart people watching this. This is from the United Nations. The World Youth Skills Day was held, I think in July, it was actually held. And, you know, here's some jobs that didn't exist 10 years ago, right? Crypto trader, Uber driver, TikTok manager. Of course, you know, you're running $27.5 million. You're gonna, or you know, even $1 million business. You're gonna have some management. Drone pilot, AI ethicist. Great documentary on Netflix about programming AI with ethics. And meal kit designer, virtual assistant, SEO specialist, sustainability manager, chief listening officer. Like, listen to people, understand what everybody's thinking or talking about. And of course, what we showed, game streamer, YouTuber, TikToker, data scientist. What the hell is that? That was, you know, scientists weren't supposed to be about data unless they're cracking codes in World War II. Well, guess what? You know, now every business needs that. Content creator, social media manager, all of that's Web 2.0 stuff, all of it.
Yeah,
it all came out.
When you think of all the different places where people can go and the access methods, whether it's email or text or all the social media places, I mean, it's very complex for any business to figure out where do you place your content and what do you do, but it creates opportunities for all of us.
Well, it does, and it's this idea of looking at these massive economic shifts and saying, really, you know, what is going to happen next? What are our kids? How are we going to create 600 million new jobs? Because that's what we need to do. Right. We don't need to create more companies that hire 300,000 people. We need to create 600 million new jobs. That's our goal at BlockCerts, to be part of 600 million new jobs, right? To be part of the ecosystem that builds that. That's what the platform's about. And what's that going to look like? Over this year, 2022, we're going to talk about that, how these Web 3.0 things, and we're not only going to talk about it every week, week in, week out, we're delivering tools to do it, to actually do it, right?
Yeah, blockchain for every business and for everyone. And what does that mean?
That's right. And guess what? Crypto trader is one job on blockchain, one. Right. But look at all those other jobs. My thesis is this, for everybody listening. Every one of those new jobs, every one of them will touch the blockchain. And there are some really good reasons. So I think we dig in to what Web 3.0 is going to usher in. Now, do you want to be on the beginning of that? Or do you want to be on the other end going, wow, I was telling my kids not to get on gaming.
I know.
Michael over here going, business model. Okay, I'll take a flyer. I have a big flyer, Michael, by the way. I hope you're watching.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Like, wait, good for you. But, and here's a guy who's just like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea, by the way, go to Supercar Driven and click on their channel. It is so cool, so fun. So that's on YouTube, and it really is cool. But these economic shifts, okay, so I call this first shift of Web 2.0, I like to call it influenceonomics, right? And influenceonomics meaning we got used to this idea, kind of ushered in by things like Survivor and all of the reality TV, where it didn't just kind of decentralize TV, reality TV, and make it accessible to everybody, this reality of doing these kinds of things, right? And that was the evolution of the influenceonomics on a platform economy. Well, how fast does it happen? And what does economic shift look like? Well, here's one for you that everybody should understand. And I love this. In 2018, now think about this. I'm a guy, I go out and I think, gee, I'm going to start a mask business in 2017 or 2016. That's what it felt like in 2014 when I said I'm going to start a blockchain business, right?
Correct. Yeah. Everybody looked at you crazy.
So in 2018, the estimated global sheet face mask market was a volume of 206 million units, and it's forecasted to reach 332 million by 2026. That's a 4.5% rate of growth. We're going to use these in hospitals. I'm trying to pitch this and raise some money, right?
Right.
With pretty tough gig to sell in 2016, 17, 18, just like it's been with the technologies we've been building. I know what that feels like, right?
Right.
Here you go. Bloomberg this year, face mask market size to reach revenues of $8.8 billion by 2026. And shipments are expected to reach 16.5 billion units.
Wow.
That's just a few more than 332 million units.
Just a few.
Right? Now, do I look like a genius or a moron? Right? And that's the reality of economic shifts. So
yeah, and Tim, you asked me, is it too late? And you and I both know, based on what statistics and things are looking like, they're calling for 68% year-over-year growth in blockchain over the next 10 years. So this is just the start of an uptrend of what we're going to see in terms of transformational technology and the jobs that are going to be created as a part of that.
Well, it boils down to Web 3.0, right?
Yeah.
So if this was Web 2.0, if a unpredictable event like COVID can do that to the global mass market,
right?
If you can see things, and we don't even talk about like Airbnb anymore, it's just a given, and it's just kind of a given. But and I've said this so many times before, what a crazy deal to try and sell to anybody to give you money. In fact, these guys couldn't raise money, so they went in and started creating ads on cereal boxes. And the reason, at least what I've read, is the reason they got funded is somebody said, you're good marketers, because that was a really good way to get around this problem of getting capital for this absolutely dumb business. I'll just give you money for that. You'll figure out something. And they figured it out, right?
Well, and similar to Uber, what a crazy idea up front. And now my daughter, who lives in LA, she doesn't have a car. She just Ubers everywhere.
Well, and when I got into Toronto, I didn't even think about that. We walked out of the train, off of the train comes in from the station into the city. We walk off the train with all these giant bags that we're trying to get her set up in her new apartment. And there's cabs sitting out there. I had already inside, the minute I hit the platform with the bags, called an Uber. And I'm sitting here in the freezing cold going, what a shift. Because I had that in my hand, I already paid for it. I'm not going to call that guy over who's sitting right there to come give me a ride.
Yeah, or wait in a super long line for the cabs that are going to, take you
Well,
somewhere.
there was no line. There was a line of cabs, but
that's what I mean.
Line.
Long line of cabs.
Yeah, exactly. So when you look at these shifts, you have to look at what is the world going to be, and that's why I love what we call this the world from here, because that's what we're talking about.
Right.
So let's talk about Web 3.0, Dan. Let's talk about what we think is coming. Yeah. Here you go.
Where are we going?
So the idea of new business models and what those are will be something
Tim,
like
I can't see your screen for some reason. It's black.
Let's try it again.
And that's the deal when you go live.
That's right. Well, this is called Friday morning live.
There we go. We see here.
This isn't Friday morning recorded.
That's right.
I love that when people say you're actually doing that live. It's like, yeah. So we mess up
every Friday. Yeah.
You're right there with us. So, and this is I'd like to say live on Meet Certain BlockCerts, all on blockchain. All of this is happening right on the BlockCerts platform too. So, it's I pinch myself when I look at this tech, and anybody can do this. Like literally contact us, meetcertain.me. Go. Our new app is going up there, Dan. Anybody can do this. So we can create all of these things. And the cool part about it is this idea of this trustonomics. So we're moving from influenceonomics to trustonomics, right? We're moving from the information age where all this stuff is going out into an age where you can authenticate and actually be assured of so many things. So a trustonomic analyst will be, okay, well, how trusted are we out in the market? What's our brand trust? How do our customers view us? We're moving from B2B, business to business, to consumer, to C to B to B, consumer driven, permission driven by the consumer, because we can do that now with blockchain, to, okay, business, I'm inviting you in. You better treat me right. The influenceonomics and the Web 2.0 software model was the biggest one, was the hostage model. Once I'm in, you have my data. Not anymore. Not anymore. Once I'm in, you need to ask me if you can work with me. So it's kind of a full circle thing. It really is, Dan. You being a marketer all your life, we used to have to ask people permission to get into their to get into their minds and their doctor's offices with our magazines and things like that. And that all changed to, wait a minute, I got all your data, I got all your software, I'm locking you out.
Right.
You don't, pay me, or if you want more than this number of users, pay me more. Too bad for you.
And Tim, as you say, the mantra in our company, if you ask anybody in our company, we're an outside-in company, which is leading that, not only listen to the customer, but the client giving permission to access your data. It's totally changing the whole Web 2.0 scenario, and protecting your identity, protecting your data, and allowing you to control what people see. Exactly. It's an entire shift.
Exactly. So when we build these new business models, what we're going to do is we're going to create this model of driving new types of jobs, really, and new types of work. Very interesting work, I would think, for all all people. So let's talk about it. The tokenomic advisor. What does it look like when you look at this idea of tokens? You know what tokens are? Okay, everybody, here's the secret. Here's Tim's secret about what a token actually is. Guess who did the first model of money on top of money? It's called banks. What was a checking account? What was a checking? What was a credit card if it's not money on top of money? It's a means to facilitate the transfer of value. It wasn't money.
Yeah.
What good is a $70,000 Bitcoin? That's how we talk about it. Think about this, everybody. We talk about a $70,000 Bitcoin. Something you're missing, the dollar sign. If it's just Bitcoin, go try and make transfers Bitcoin to Bitcoin. It costs too much. What you're looking at, Bitcoin was designed as a store of value to prove that we could have a different layer, a different kind of a store of value. And that's its functionality.
Yep.
And that's the technical digital functionality of it. And guess what? It worked.
Yep.
It actually kicked butt.
Yeah.
It's ass. It worked. I'm going to say it. It kicked ass. It worked. And so when you look at this, you have to look at what Web 3.0 represents. It represents a shift in the business economics and layers that create economics, just like influenceonomics did, just like SaaS and cloud computing and digital did, just like digital marketing did. It created a shift in the fundamentals, and those took tools, the functional tools. So,
and Tim, to me, the two components that are the most important, whether it's Bitcoin or tokenomics today, is security. Obviously, that's a critical, important thing, but also efficiency. So you mentioned the checkbook. When that was developed, that was an efficient means at that point in time. But tokens are just a more efficient method than doing a wire transfer that the next day you get something that says something's pending, and the next day you finally get the wire transfer versus a store of value.
Yeah, in our own company, we did a transfer for one of our team members globally, and the bank deposited it because of the wrong routing number into somebody else's account, and the money went missing. If that was public keys, that would have never happened.
Right.
No, it's just that simple. That would have never happened. And now you have to go through this big rigmarole, and who's liable for that missing? The name on the account was right. The account number was right. The routing number was wrong.
Right.
And it was within the same bank. So somebody at the bank didn't pay any attention. It was just automated. Boom, hit somebody else's account. Somebody's going, hey, bonus day, take it out. And NSF when it's tried to get returned.
Unbelievable.
Right? That's banking today. We're so far beyond that. Block optimization manager. There you go. How are you going to, it's not going to be just SEO optimization or social media optimization anymore. It's going to be blocks. How do we optimize this trust? How do we optimize our visibility? How do we do that? And are we even there? Do we even have blocks? Right. How many people didn't even know what SEO was a decade or a decade and a half ago for their businesses? Now everybody's like, how do I return a result on Google for my business, right?
Right.
So, and here's a few more. Gig delivery manager, booming. We talked about the resignation in the world, the big resignations in the world. They're all going and doing gigs. Well, how are you going to manage that workforce? How are you going to authenticate them? How are you going to make sure they're meeting their delivery? You have no control. Maybe they've got 5 contracts. How is yours going to rise to the top, or you're paying attention? Are you paying for somebody else's contract? All of that, team certain. We already built that, right? We do that every day at BlockCerts by the hundreds.
We do. And the piece that's really important there is both on the business side and both for the gig worker, having the tools and the means to work in a gig environment. And as we know, 50% of individuals are now becoming gig workers, and 4 million people a month in the US are quitting their jobs over the last 6 months. So this is a huge area of change, but it doesn't mean that people are quitting work and they're not ever working again. It just means they're working differently.
That's right. They're working differently. They're working with more free. They're entrepreneurs.
Right.
Like they're
just like you, Tim. They're following in your footsteps.
It's the Renaissance. And here's one: financial data scientist. I love that. What is a financial data scientist? They're just now starting to teach us at universities. Financial sciences, these economic models, these things you see emerging on the blockchain, DeFi, swaps, and all of that stuff. That's financial sciences, right? So Are we going to need to know about it on the average? Well, did you need to reconcile your checking account?
Yeah.
Did you need to know about that? Of course, you're going to need to know about it. You're going to have mechanisms for dealing with this. That will be built by financial data scientists. And there will be a bank in every business. Every business becomes its own bank. It becomes its own checking account model. That's what tokenomics is about. Like, all of these things are here. It's just at the very beginning stages, and you need the tools. You need the functional utility tools and implementation knowledge to do it. And if you ask guys like Michael, picking on him again, he learned so much in the last 12 months, and that the learning curve is massive. So I'll just run through the rest of these quick because we're running out of time. ML HR director. What the hell does that mean? Machine learning HR director. You have to engage your human resources with machine learning, with AI. We're doing that at BlockCerts. Like this, the machine will do this, Dan. I've done this with you. You don't have to do that anymore. You had to do it, but now that the machine's set up, you don't have to do it anymore. Go get your staff, go get your team, go get people to do other things because we got that handled.
Correct.
So
you're telling me that all the time.
Yeah. So the shift is that mindset of, gee, did I just lose my job, or did I just free up a bunch of time that a machine can do to go be more creative and figure out new stuff to do? We do that every day, every single day. It's probably the biggest part of my job here is tell people, okay, great. Thank you for getting us that far. Machine has it handled. We got teams that automate all this stuff now, and watch. How's that automation running? And then the machine tells us something. Go, oh, didn't think about that myself. I learned something. I'm going to go create something new. Boom, done. Smart document creator. Here you go. Here's one. Are you going to create all your documents on PDFs? You're going to make them smart. Like, execute those terms. You know what executing terms automatically means? Lower overhead, more accuracy. Bankers, you don't lose stuff. So we have to go say, hey, that's bank fraud because you put the wrong money in the wrong, and somebody took it out. That's actually what it is. Yeah. Right.
And less legal issues. The 30% on the Fortune 500 of every dollar goes to legal issues.
It goes to law firms. It goes to, and once you got this all documented, you're just like, oh, that's what happened. That's what's supposed to happen. And what about this? What about just stopping stuff before it gets down that path?
Right.
Real-time regulation. Just don't let the transaction go through. Just stop it. Stop everything right there. Instead of somebody going behind the back door and doing all this stuff and you find out later, right? How valuable is that going to be? You just said it, Dan, 30% of every dollar, 30 cents. This, we're talking trillions here. We're not talking about a little bit. Metaverse designer and coordinator. What are events going to look like in the future? What is the metaverse? How are we going to be assured? When we used to go to all of these events, we had our badges on. Later on, you had your QR code. Me and Renato would go to these events, and Renato's like, hey, give me your badge. I'm like, you look nothing like me. And he's like, I don't care. They don't check, right? So you've got these things, and that was the game of these events. Well, you can prevent all of that now, right?
Right, for sure.
And you can run that more effectively with who's there. AR, event coordination, augmented reality, right? And NFT collection curator. I love this one. Of course, if you're going to take this kind of stuff, and we're going to talk a lot more about the deep fakes and how this is done. I'm going to tell a lot of people how this is being done in NFTs right now and why you're going to need that job. So there's a few. Now let's see if I'm right and if that prediction goes anywhere.
Well, that'll just go in a million other directions as well.
So there's some Web 3.0 jobs of what work looks like. And Dan, I love this. You stuck this in there.
Yeah, I stuck this in at the end because it's something I tell my kids today. And it's a book. It's about 20 years old. And it's if you haven't ever read it, it takes probably about 30 minutes to read. But a parable of two different managers, and with both the managers, life changed, the information changed, their job changed. One manager keeps going back to the same place. The other, i.e. a mouse, doesn't, they end up starving because they keep going back to the same place where their cheese was. But, you know, it's the same thing with Web 3.0. You know, who moved my cheese? Are you going to change and evolve, or are you going to keep going back to the same place and starve? And that's what, you know, the overall what we're talking about here is that there's an incredible amount of change that's happened in just the last 2 years. There is even more change underway. And if you just stop sometimes and look at what is really happening, there are incredible opportunities and ways to capitalize on those with tools that we're talking about, Tim.
Right. But, and as you say, Dan, you can't run a Web 3.0 company from a Web 2.0 perspective or a Web 1.0 perspective. You can't do it. It won't work at the end of the day. And, you know, so here's some new cheese for you. That we've got the meat certain cheese, the stuff that we're doing right now on World From Here, you know, streaming right from our own business. We're not using anybody else's tools, is available to everybody, right? So what's that going to look like? What do you think we're going to look like in 2023, Dan, when we start making this really cool with virtual rooms, AR, all that stuff, all in the BlockCerts labs right now? Of course we're going to jump on it.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a business trend. It's an opportunity. It's the terms. Are people going to adopt it right away? Probably not. That doesn't, sometimes it works. Sometimes people adopt right away, like masks.
Yeah. But
right away from what starting point? What is right away? You don't even know that. Nobody can answer that question. How long is a piece of string? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
The metaverse started in 1994. Was the first time the term was there. Right away. Like, here we go. Yeah. Happened overnight, right?
Yeah. Well, and Tim, I even looked back to a little over a year ago when we were using that antiquated product called Zoom. And, you know, it's one way you're going back and forth on something. And every day we're collaborating with tools all within our own command center.
Web 2.0, Dan. It's Web 2.0. You get one thing with Zoom, which is video, with a certain kind of model, with this model of bringing everything together in a metaverse kind of format, which we've been working on for a long time, a decade, more than a decade. We click off this, you and I will be on a chat. We have our files. We've got everything right there that we worked on, and we have a log of it, and it's all hashed to the blockchain. And this is not only saved on a centralized YouTube stream, it's also saved in an encrypted, globalized, protected system on BlockCerts called IPFS. It's our encrypted file storage system, file certain. So all of that's being done as you and I are doing this live today.
Yeah. And you and I didn't have to really talk about what we're doing today, because in this channel, we're collaborating back and forth. Our designer was collaborating, and, you know, it all got done from a whole different way, which is through Web 3.0 versus
from all over the world.
Phone calls
we bring all this together from all over the world, from our IT developers to our CIO to, you know, Jules, and who's been on here before on the World From Here, to James, to Harold, to Melissa, to Ayrton, to all of the team members all over different time zones and everything. And we get the benefit of waking up and going, boom, here we go. Let's go to Friday Morning Live. Work certain, gig delivery manager. Why work certain? Because by the time you get somebody into a gig, you've got them authenticated. You're watching this. We're tracking it. You've got everything locked. It's all right there. You got a smart contract with them. It just, boom, here, go do this. Wake up the next morning, it's done. Wake up in 2 days, it's done. That's work. That's the world of work. And frankly, I love it. And our teams are exceptional. I can't even, it's not, like I say, sometimes I wake up and I pinch myself. I'm like, did that just happen? Like, seriously?
Overnight while you sleep.
Yeah. And our big announcement this month, our NFT marketplace, the BlockCerts NFT marketplace, authenticated, solving a ton of these problems. So these are jobs right here. These are jobs right here that actually exist today in Web 3.0 on BlockCerts with the tools to actually do them. So, I'll end with this. When I was a kid, I learned to do construction. I put myself through university, and I clearly learned from my boss Dwight, who was like a second father to me, he's like, when you come to work, you come with your tools, Tim.
Right.
And I got in trouble for that so many times being a spacey kid. It's like, come to work prepared with your tools. And one day I'm sitting there and I hadn't gotten enough sleep or whatever. And he's like, what's George going to need next? What's George going to need next? George was the senior journeyman carpenter. And I learned from those experiences, what are you going to need next? Yeah. What are you going to need next? Don't sit there and wait till it hits you in the face, or George is standing around unproductive. What's he going to need? He needs a saw. And he doesn't need a hammer to screw in a screw. You use the right tool. So Web 2.0 tools were designed for one thing. Web 3.0 tools have evolved. It's like the difference, put a carpenter on a job, give one a hammer, like I learned how to do it, give another one of those hammer guns that goes in. Who's going to build faster?
Yeah.
It's kind of obvious, isn't it?
Right.
So that's Web 3.0. That's the world from here, the work world from here. And that's where it's all headed. That's what we've been building into. That's ready to go today. All of these, all three of these, BlockCerts NFT Marketplace. We're going to do a lot of education because getting people's heads around this is what the biggest next evolution is, right, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. And I was just thinking about your analogy, but, coming with one tool versus coming with a tool belt, equipped for everything you need in one place. Because, how often probably when you started, did you maybe have a tool and then you had to walk over somewhere else to get another tool and you're going back and forth, oh, I forgot my pencil, or I forgot my drill, or I forgot my hammer, all those kinds of things. But a tool belt puts it all together so it's right in your hand and you're productive. And that's what this really does.
By the time I quit doing construction, which was a long time into my university, I could take, and some people understand what this is, but there's a 16 penny nail. Yeah. And I had this massive hammer, and I could put a 16 penny nail through 2 2x4s with one swing.
Sweet.
And I was absolutely no match for those compressor guns that came out a few years later. Yeah. So when you start looking at that kind of stuff, you're looking at what tools really are. And it never ceases to amaze me that people say, well, I invested in all this other stuff, so I'm going to stick with it. Great. That's really, really brilliant. While you stick with it, because I invested in that hammer and I could make it sing, I'm telling you, and it was fun. And I was buff and muscular and could do that. And some young skinny guy, just like these young skinny kids and geeks, come along and boom, 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 boom. And they built 10 times the things I could build with my hammer I'd invested in.
Right.
So, it's just good, solid, old-fashioned logic and business that gets us there. But we're out of time today. We can talk more about that. What are you going to do with now that you have the choice and those choices are out there? As we always say, anything you want. You're going to create NFTs. You're going to buy, hold, swap. You're going to invent, create, work, privacy, design, market, play, metaverse. That's everything about where we're at in the world from here. And it's pretty exciting. So please do subscribe, click down below. If you like what we talk about, let us know. And we'll be back next week.
Back with another one next week. So many things are happening on a weekly basis. So we look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Stay safe, stay healthy, get Web 3.0 digital. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.